A U.S. appeals court has ruled President Trump can take command of the 200-plus Oregon National Guard troops, but a separate court order still blocks their deployment for now. Confusing stuff a little bit.
It's very confusing. This was a 3-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, 2 Trump judges and another judge, and it went 2-1. Both the Trump judges sided with Donald Trump, not surprisingly. Although, some of the Trump judges have been very good and are not necessarily just in a knee-jerk way siding with Trump. But it was a pretty scathing dissent here. But these 2 judges appointed by Trump did say that he could take command of 2,000 Oregon National Guard troops, overturning one of the lower court's orders. But there was another lower court order, which was not at issue, as I understand it. Remember, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm giving you my best understanding. That was not at issue in this Court of Appeals decision. And that was a lower court ruling that Trump is barred from actually deploying the National Guard troops in Portland. So at this point, the situation is very much uncertain. Local officials have indicated that they intend to ask for a rehearing of the 2-1 panel decision by an en banc panel of the Ninth Circuit. That would be 11, not just 2-3 judges ruling on this matter. But at the moment, the deployment remains suspended. Now remember, the justification for this, Sam, was that Portland is an uncontrollable war zone, right?
Right.
And in fact, what did we find with an estimated 40,000 protesters on the No Kings demonstration?
No war zone.
No war zone. Entirely peaceful. A small number of demonstrators and counter-demonstrators did clash in front of ICE. They were dispersed. No big issue. No need for the National Guard. And if you look at the videos of what's been going on in Oregon, in Portland, it's anything but a war zone. People are going about their day-to-day activities. Businesses are taking place. There's no wars going on in the streets. No one's bombarding ICE facilities or anything like that. The justification for deployment, like so much else that comes out of Donald Trump and his administration, is a pure fabrication.
Lie.
It's a lie. Totally driven by politics, not by any real need to deploy National Guard troops in Portland, which is anything but a war zone. Can you imagine 40,000 people peacefully protesting in a war zone, Sam?
No.
No, of course not. And no arrests of the No King demonstrators. The only issue was a small number, not just of the No Kings demonstrators, but of counter-pro-Trump demonstrators clashing in front of the ICE building. They were dispersed.
Have you ever been to Portland before?
I have been to Portland, yes.
What's your favorite thing about Portland?
The views. You're near some magnificent scenery in Portland.
Do you know what reasoning or logic this court used to say that he can take command of the Oregon National Guard?
Yes, I think there is some language here.
Okay. Because I would be
that the president has the authority to federalize troops based upon his own determination.
Oh, come on.
That he was unable to get the law enforced without federalizing the troops. In other words, as far as I understand the decision, they were giving the president very broad discretion.
That's bad.
On his own determination to decide that federalization was needed to enforce the law.
But then again, he can't even deploy them. So it's very confusing. So he can take command of them under his own discretion, but he can't deploy them?
Correct, because...
So what does that mean? That seems sort of counterintuitive. Like, taking command means that you then give them an action or deploy them somewhere, right? No.
It's tricky because, the law isn't always straightforward.
Oh.
In fact, Charles Dickens once said, the law is a ass. I don't agree with that, but sometimes it is. And here's the problem. There were two separate rulings of the lower court.
I get that.
One, that he couldn't take control, and two, that he couldn't deploy them.
Right, but that seems like the same.
Finish.
I know, but that seems like the same thing to me.
They're not the same thing.
Okay.
They're two separate rulings, separate orders, and only the first was up on appeal. So only the first lower court order was overturned, and that was whether he could take charge of the troops. This panel may well have said he can deploy them, but that wasn't at issue in their decision because that was a separate ruling that was not on appeal in this instance.
I get that they're separate rulings and these are two different court orders. What I don't get is what's the difference between him having command of the troops but he's not able to deploy them, which is part of him having command of the troops.
I agree with you.
That's what I don't understand.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And as I said, the law is not always straightforward, but this is procedural, two separate rulings. He could have charge of the National Guard, but that doesn't mean he has to deploy them. It could mean he's holding the National Guard in abeyance. Yes, I'm in charge, but I'm not going to immediately deploy them because the situation at this point may not warrant it. That's the best I can parse out of these two separate rulings.
Feels like a very murky difference between these two words and these two orders, but I don't know.
Right.
It's like if I gave
murky,
you,
but it's also clear.
It's like if I gave you my phone and I was like, you can take command of my phone, and then you start using it.
I can't use it,
and I'd be like, no, you can't use it. It's like, well, then what does take command mean?
It means you could use it at some point. And that's my gloss on trying to make sense of it.
I see what
I'm
you're
not saying that's what the court said.
So, as in, he has command of them, but not in this very specific instance of deploying them to Portland?
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks for watching our video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a member today.